Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Another edition of Dr. Homebrew. This is JP, right here in your ear holes, which is honestly the only hole I want to be in with you. Wait.
Thank you for clarifying.
Should we start over?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
Cut. Whatever we say.
Yeah, all right, everyone. This is Dr. Homebrew. Thanks for hanging out. We got a really cool show for you tonight. We have a Northern German alt beer, which is a style that you don't see a lot of, I think, and we have a Pils. And I'm stoked to drink both of them. I don't know what kind of
Dr.
pills.
Homebrew, we got to do lots of pills, you think?
I like pills. Yeah, we should.
Pills.
We're like Nurse Jackie. We're just popping
German?
pills.
German pills? I don't have a microphone very good here.
Pills and injectables.
Hello?
Yeah, let's do it. I like pills. Pills are good, man.
We've heard.
Yeah. I mean, you get in trouble with pills. Anyway, a little window into Dr. Homebrew, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star. You can go to 5starchemicals.com and learn about everything that you need to do to actually make drinkable beer. I mean, don't do it for us. Do it for your palate and your family's palate and your friends' palates. Because I think they're tired of going, is this intentionally sour?
Is it polite to say ew or no? Do it for your dog, if nothing else.
Right. You know,
it's to drink the leftovers.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, I remember, 10 years ago or so, people give you a beer and you go, oh, it's sour. But now I heard all over NHC, we're fresh back from NHC, I heard a bunch of people going, oh, is it intentionally sour? And then they go, yeah, and the person goes, oh, okay, good. And then you kind of go forward. So that's kind of the new question to ask is did you intentionally make this sour beer?
This beer, if you didn't mean it, it sucks, but if you did, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And we can't tell the difference anymore.
Exactly. How was NHC for you guys? Did you guys have a good time?
NHC was a lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Beer
Super
everywhere.
cool.
All sorts of cool people. People I know, people I never met before, everywhere.
Why is Brian looking at my crotch?
I couldn't
My mic
speak to
isn't
that.
working very well.
Your mic's doing great.
Quiet.
Did you turn your headphones up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is quiet. Jay has dialed back the master sound, and it's just kind of the way it is. I struggle with that, too, in that seat for the session. Because you're sitting in my seat where I usually sit for the session show, and it's like, I can't hear anything, man.
It's the newer, more peaceful Dr. Homebrew.
It is. I just had to turn my headphones up a little bit here, too, on the control. But
I think we're going to stop and have a chant in the middle of the show.
I think we
Meditation
should.
session.
I think we should. I'll try to ride your controllers here a little bit, Brian, and give you the better sound that you're looking for. Anyway, 5starchemicals.com. They bring you this and every show that we do here on Dr. Homebrew. Got a chance to hang out with a couple of those people from 5 Star over on NHC. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like the people.
Killer little booth, too.
Yeah, they're nice folks.
Yeah.
They make a great product.
They have stickers that say, don't fear the foam.
Don't fear the foam. They should make a little, 5-minute video about it. Some weird horror film or something like that. Anyway, so, let's see. We're going to get Jim on the phone, and he has the Pilsner. Was it a German Pils, right?
A German Pils?
But he sent us 2 bottles. And before the show, I was scrambling because I'm like, okay, I can't find the 3rd fucking bottle. I'm just gonna lie. I'm gonna make something up and pretend that whatever. And then I asked him, I was like, how many did you send? And he goes 2. I'm like, okay. Thank you very much.
We were going to make something up.
We were totally going to lie because that's what a good doctor does, right? Oh, it's just take 2 of these and call me in the morning, be
not
fine.
Terminal.
Yeah,
Right.
Or contagious. Your partner should have nothing to worry about.
So for those of you wondering why 2 bottles might not be enough for all of us,
We're thirsty.
we're thirsty.
We are thirsty people.
No, Lee and I have judged this beer in advance of the show, which sometimes happens when JP gets nice and organized, which lately he's been doing pretty well at.
Very
so
organized.
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing
We
all
drank
right.
the beer, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how we do it. We, for those of you looking to be on the show, I just sent out a bunch of emails too, so I'm catching up with that as well. But I ask for your beers a month in advance, so I can give these guys your beers. So right now, sitting here, we have beers for next month's Dr. Homebrews to give Brian and Lee a chance to actually, get out of here early and not have to sit for an extra 45 minutes judging a bunch of beer.
And to
then
have a nice, unharried, unhassled judging session at home.
Yeah.
And where we call and compare notes afterwards.
Yeah, it's not
like a couple days before the show.
I should just knock on your own and go, are you guys done yet? I mean, because we got to, come on.
No.
Yeah.
JP, I'm at my house. I don't care.
Come back later.
I need you to be done.
That's what you've been doing when we judged it here, so it's a lot better this way. We don't feel as hurried, and we're nice and relaxed. We do a little yoga in the back. And,
and we can actually talk to the guests when they come in.
BS with the people at the bar. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. Speaking of the bar, I'm drinking Solidarity from Eagle Rock Brewery in L.A., my favorite beer in the entire universe. Most of them, anyways.
I've got that knee-deep J-Town. It's pretty nice.
I smelled it. Smells good, but it ain't no 3.8% black mild, man. You know what I'm trying to say? I love it. All day long. Drink it all day long. And you don't even feel drunk or anything. It's amazing.
No, not till you hit the pavement.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to ring Jim here, but it's not connecting for some reason. Brian, did you have fun at NC? You guys had a big booth there.
I did, yeah.
Your club, the Mad Z's, huh?
The gigantic blue fuzzy wig and the lab coat on club night. And if you were there at NHC, I kind of came around and collected your beer. I went to every booth and pretty much asked for one of everything.
You were that guy?
I was that guy.
Oh, that's right, in the flask.
Yes.
Okay, so you weren't like
flask.
slamming shots.
And people thought I was, what are you pouring? I've had a flask full of random mixed, dump bucket beer is a nice word for it, but nobody
Is that a
drank
nice
out of
word?
it. Yeah.
Dump bucket beer is the nicest way to phrase that.
No, it's a little experiment I'm doing just for fun. So it's happily souring in my closet now.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. So you asked for one of everything.
Yes.
And then kept it in the the flask.
Transferred it from the flask into a sanitized bucket that I have that I had on hand there, and I filled it up to 5 gallons, and it's happily souring away.
You did not. Seriously? You did this?
This is how I get my exercise and work off some of the beer calories at NHC.
Wait, okay. So you... sorry, Jim. You're going to have to stay on hold for a second. So you brought a sanitized 5-gallon bucket to NHC with the forethought to do this project.
Yes.
One of every single beer.
Yes, it's the mad scientist in me. I just wanted to do it. I did the same thing at NCHF, and I had that time instead of a flask, I had like a spray bottle. And at NCHF, the Northern California Homebrewers Festival, at the end of the collection, I mixed them all together, and we tasted the beer, and I put it in this spray bottle, and I squirted it into the daring people's mouths. So a lot of people were like, I told them what I had, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And then sometimes I talk them into it, and they're like, oh, well, okay. And then they're like, actually, that's not too bad.
That's gross.
And I tasted that one. I mean, that was in September that I collected it on a pour at the next NCHF, and I just pour the dregs of really good bottles into it, and it sours nice. It's souring nicely. So maybe someday we can start a new category.
Collection beer.
Gordon, we need a category called sour dump bucket beer.
No.
Unintended collaboration brews.
Hey, Jim, are you there?
Yes, sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Don't worry about it, man.
Please cut us off.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you for having me.
So we were just talking to Brian, and he was telling us about his little adventure in NHC, collecting a little bit of every beer from every booth and then putting it in a sanitized bucket and then souring it.
So is suicide?
Yeah, it's essentially
Suicide
a beer
sour.
club suicide.
Maybe that's a nicer name for it than dump bucket sour.
Yes, I think so. But I think that's gross. Have you ever heard of any crazy people doing that?
No, not really.
No.
There's a reason.
No one
right?
else has.
That sounds. So you've said you've done it before. I'm thoroughly interested in this for some reason.
And
how did it come out?
It's coming along nicely.
Okay, still going.
So it's about 9 months in, and it's souring pretty happily in there. But yeah, there was some sour beers, even some meads and ciders and smoked beers, and just a little bit of everything. But also I did for our Oktoberfest festival. I run the Oktoberfest competition for German beers. I end up with all these extra beers. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So one time, this kind of came out of that too, partially, the tradition and of doing this, and it was also partially inspired by Sean Paxton, like mixing all kinds of weird beers at the end of NCHF and saving them for future years in big sour bottles. He calls it his Frankengoose.
Okay. All right.
So all of this kind of comes out of that. But
I've never heard this.
In the German homebrew competition, I take a lot of the leftover entries if we have the second and third bottle and take the higher scoring entries and mix them all together, and then I pour it at the festival. Like I just dump them very gently into a keg. And it's like generic German beer. It tastes like a Weizenaltbach. It's like
Thing.
Yeah.
Thingy-bob.
It's got some of the best elements of both, and all of any defects kind of wash themselves out because they're so low in each different beer that they just kind of blend together and fade away.
Everything else is overpowered.
So it kind of make the sum of the parts is actually better than some of the individual beers that went into it.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Well, you're a crazy person.
We can talk about how weird I am for a while
This
longer.
man will be judging your beer now.
Yeah. Or we can just trash a few homebrews here. No.
Well, I'm having some connection issues with Jim, so we're just going to go ahead and get rolling without him, unfortunately. Sorry, Jim. I tried calling you back, but if you get up and running, man, bring me back. Lee, why don't you, since Brian has hogged the mic this entire time talking about himself, why don't you start talking about Jim's beer here?
So wait, Jim, the pills or the alt?
The pills.
The pills.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said Adam for a moment, so I was confused.
I did?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, what can we say about a German Pills? Everybody knows them. Everybody loves them.
Everybody loves
It's
them.
that bit burger you get in the can when you were in college or high school or whenever. Crisp, a little bit hoppy, bitter, but balanced, a little bit of mineral.
Yeah.
Usually very pale, very nice beers. You can drink them by the bucket, whether they're blended with other beers or not, potentially. But yeah. This was a pretty decent example of style. I would say aroma. We got kind of a bready, crackery malt, kind of medium intensity, a little bit of a low flowery hop aroma in there. Initial kind of sulfite whiff kind of went away, a little bit of sulfur there. I got a little bit of a low apple ester or acetaldehyde. I wasn't really sure which that was there as well. No diacetyl or DMS. No off aromas, a little bit of a honey character, which might have been a touch of oxidation, but nothing objectionable in any way. And when it warmed up, it's like an hour after I opened it, I went back to the bottle. There was a little bit of diacetyl there then. But, given that much time, most people would have drunk it down and be long gone by then. You'd never notice it. Pretty well styled in the aroma. Could maybe have used a touch more hops, but it's pretty nice, basically. It was to look at brilliant pale gold, pours a medium white and mostly fine foam. Faded pretty quickly, though, to a light cover on the beer. Could probably use a little bit better head persistence, but it was pretty much the right color, and the foam that was there was nice and fine, tight bubbles when it was there. Excuse me. Flavor, crackery Brady Pills malt. Some evenly balanced by some hop flavor, sort of a medium-low floral hop flavor in there, and a fairly medium-high level of bittering. A little bit coarse finish to the bittering. Otherwise, I thought the balance on that was pretty good. A touch of honey again. Maybe a threshold apple acetaldehyde flavor. I wasn't really sure. No DMS diacetyl. While I was tasting, a little bit of a mineral sulfate character was noticed as well. It's mostly to style. Again, I think the diacetyl came up like an hour later when I went back to it. But
okay.
Yeah, you're usually not going to notice that.
We got Jim.
Gone.
We got Jim back too. Jim.
We got Jim back. Excellent.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right.
No worries.
Don't sweat it, man. Skype strikes again.
Skype, yes. Mouthfeel, medium-low body and carbonation. Could probably use a little more carbonation. Other than that, it was fine. It was almost crisp. Not hot or alcoholic or astringent. Had a little bit of creaminess. This was good. A little bit of drying in the finish, probably from the mineral. A little bit from the bittering, but mostly I think it was kind of a mineral character to it, which you expect in a German Pils. They usually have some mineral to them. Overall impression, I thought it was a decent Pils. Good malt flavors. Good hop flavors and aromas as well. Almost clean ferment. Maybe, there's a little bit of diacetyl there in the acetaldehyde in the end. Carbonation was a bit low, but that's easy to fix. It's very drinkable, enjoyable beer. I thought that, maybe a little better bottle conditioning might have helped. Maybe make sure you dose it up with some real fresh yeast. Keep it at a bit warm temperature to make sure it finishes out the carbonation at the end. But basically, it's a good beer. I like it. I gave it a 34.
All right.
Yeah, Brian?
Thank you, Lee. Yeah. And if we're going to disparage Skype, as we always continually do, we need to make sure that we don't ever want to have them as a sponsor of the show.
We're safe on that.
Not too likely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all right.
I saw them knocking at the door out there. They were... Anyway, no.
That was the jackboot guys, not the sales team.
Oh, that was those guys. So the beer did look bottle conditioned. I saw the telltale yeast at the bottom, and that's a great way to condition a beer if it's done the right way, for sure. But yeah, aroma wise, started with a low bready malt and a hint of a cracker-like character. Very faint spicy hop in the background there. With it had a light bit of sulfur at first, which faded to kind of a background note. Fairly clean lager profile in there. I didn't catch any obvious esters, no DMS. It was hard to get any diacetyl, but in the aroma, it was really faint. Appearance wise, pretty light. A pretty beer. It was nice, brilliantly clear, low white, delicate head that faded after a brief while. Just kind of a nice, bright yellow color. And a pretty beer. I wish we could look at it now. In the flavor, again, I agree with a lot of what Lee said there. Low bready malt, a little bit of cracker. It had a faint bit of, I thought like I caught a little bit, kind of a banana ester in there. But there wasn't any clove or anything like that. That would be kind of like go along with a funky German yeast or maybe a wild yeast or something. But it seemed pretty clean. I thought it was just kind of a background thing. I was trying to find something else maybe. Because I did catch a hint of diacetyl in the flavor as well. So it was kind of detracting just a little bit. And then the other thing was this kind of vaguely minerally chalk-like impression. And the finish is very dry. So with that mineral and the dryness, it was kind of a little rough in that way. And then also I thought that I agree with Lee, the bitterness that was there was a little bit rough and unrefined. But lager ferment seemed okay for the most part. Other than that, despite some of the odd little flavors, it's just like kind of light little balanced notes and things. Like you want to have that nice kind of German malt crackery thing balanced with the hop and kind of present itself in that way, and not nothing standing out too hard. And if you get too many minerals in your water, it's gonna muck it up a little bit. Had a little bit of an odd hop taste in there. But again, these are fine points. It's actually a very good beer.
So you think that kind of funky bitterness is a minerality conflicting with the hops?
I think it's the way the minerals in the water profile played with the hop, and it'd be interesting to talk about what kind of water was used and any treatment that was done.
Okay.
Sometimes less is more when it comes to treatment. If you have pretty clean, good water, you want a moderate sulfate water for this beer. But yeah, body wise, it was pretty much where it needed to be. There wasn't any obvious astringency. It just had a little biting character. No obvious warmth or anything, just kind of medium light body. Not too bad. But yeah, cleanly brewed lager. And just a few little issues. The diacetyl thing you can clean up pretty easily. If it could have come in either in the brewing process or in the bottle. Like if you tasted it after you brewed it might not have had any diacetyl. Could have been bottle conditioning artifact, as Lee stated. You do want to make sure you have healthy yeast going in there, or if it tastes any of that or smell any of that when you're bottling it, just cancel the bottling and hold on to it a little longer and let it clean itself up.
And do a diacetyl rest.
Do a rest, yeah. So, yeah, you want to look for German noble hops to use with this beer because they are going to be showcased in it. The freshest you can find, and also a good German Pils malt, nice and freshly milled to get that light little kind of graham crackery kind of hint of sweetness that was kind of missing from this beer. And you could also increase the mash temp just a little bit, maybe. For this beer did dry out quite a lot, so to me, and it was just that'll kind of increase perception of the malt, I think. But overall, it's a good beer. I gave it a very good beer. It's 30 points. So I could have gone higher, but some of those little things just kind of detracted a little bit for me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what kind of feedback that Jim was looking to get here. We can ask him.
Yeah, I know he has some questions.
What the questions were
for you guys.
Yeah.
Jim, why don't you take it away, Jim?
Thanks, guys. So I've been having some trouble with my loggers, and I'm sorry, Lee, I missed the first part of your thing. Did you say you got a little bit of acetaldehyde?
I was getting a touch of it's either acetaldehyde or just green apple esters. It could well have been acetaldehyde. It's pretty
is
low.
that in the flavor or more in the aroma?
Both.
Both. Okay. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of that in my lagers, and I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong in my fermentation with that, because unfortunately this was not a bottle conditioned beer. It was a keg fill, so that's interesting. It was at the end, so it's interesting that there was some sediment on the bottom.
Okay,
yeah, there was. It looked bottle conditioned.
He fooled us.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That just
Maybe
dropped out in
bottle
there.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay,
acetaldehyde, I mean, if that's a recurring issue, that can come from actually interesting in the context of homebrewed lager. Over pitching yeast, you'll sometimes end up with acetaldehyde as a source of it. But along with diacetyl, a diacetyl rest should be able to get rid of most of that. So if you're getting this a lot in lagers, especially if you're getting it with diacetyl, maybe do your diacetyl rest for another day or so, or bump it up another degree or two. I don't know how you're doing
What
it.
about too much oxygen too at first? That could probably.
Let's Jim, how are you doing your diacetyl rests?
So I'm kind of trying with this one. I did the kind of driven fermentation where I started at 48 and then drove it after 3 days to 50, and then bumped it up about 3 degrees every 2 days to about 60 at 2 weeks, and then I left it at 60 for about 3 or 4 days, and then slowly put it back down to about 35 for a couple of days, and then put it in the keg for, I would say, a month before I started serving it.
That seems reasonable, right?
Lagered in the keg. Yeah, everything sounds right there.
It's a bit of an unusual. I mean, I'm not familiar with a driven ferment like that quite, but usually I think the classic diacetyl rest, you'd raise the temperature for like 4 or 5 degrees and hold it there for 2 or 3 or 4 days at the end of the ferment. And then you do a slow crash, the traditional lagering. So if you're coming off of a 3-day sort of not too much of a bump up, it sounds like you did a degree or two maybe.
No, he went up to 60, he said.
But it was there for a long time. Was that a diacetyl rest, or was that sort of the tail end of your ferment?
That was the tail end.
It's kind of splitting hairs maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It was still fermenting when you had it there?
No.
Slowly or no, not at all?
I brewed this in March, so I'm looking at my notes now, and I think it was finished. I think when I took the gravity reading, it was, it stayed pretty solid
right
at 60. So it was
let me put it this way: from the day you pitched it at 48 to the day you went from 60 down to your cold crash at 35, how long was that?
2.5 weeks. Or so.
Should be enough to finish up. I don't know. You could, next time you try this, maybe try bumping up the temperature 2 to 4 degrees at the end of that and do another 3 days for a diacetyl rest and see if that mops it up.
Just take a little bit of more time.
Yeah, a little bit more time. And that's the thing, to really give the yeast the extra time. Make it desperate. Warm it up so it doesn't want to go dormant, and make it desperate for anything to eat. And it'll start mopping up all the residual diacetyl and acetaldehyde with any luck.
Make it like Oprah.
Yeah. And the other thing is that if you're going to go from where you were immediately to a cold crash at 35, the traditional lagering course, is you drop it a couple degrees a day for a couple of weeks to get it down there, which you may not really need to do, but if you go straight from your warm to your cold, there's no margin for error for the yeast to mop up over sort of first few days of that cooling a little bit of extra diacetylaldehyde that might be around. So you have to get it right before you crash it.
So like the extra week or whatever to ramp down,
it might still be mopping up a little stuff maybe, but basically I think you'd kind of be leaving yourself no margin for error there.
Sure.
Like going from the 60 degrees down to the 35 overnight.
Yeah, slamming it down.
They also kind of mopping up some of that sulfur that got kicked out too, and I mean, just take it to where you think it's finished and give it another little tick. Get a little okay, patience, young Jedi.
Okay, and you guys were also saying you got a bit of a mineral note in the beer as well.
I think we both got that. Yeah,
it's a bit chalky. Yeah,
a little bit. Okay, because I did add a little bit or a teaspoon of gypsum to the strike water. I was trying to accentuate the hop character, so maybe next time not add the gypsum.
That would probably be a good place to start. I mean, the thing about a Pilsner with a really light Pils malt profile and really delicate, noble hops is things you would do that would be killer in a pale ale, English or American or an IPA, might just make it too rough.
Yeah, it had the hop character a lot like a British pale ale kind of thing.
Yeah, so a little more restraint on the minerals might help. I mean, the German Pils do have some minerals, but, go to one of those water calculators, figure out what your home water's like or wherever you're starting and try and shoot for that. And especially if you've got any magnesium, it's good to probably try and throttle that back again. I wouldn't add that here because that can make kind of a rougher hop profile too.
Are you starting with filtered house water or RO or where?
A pretty neutral city water.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have the water profile in front of me, but it's fairly neutral. Not quite mineral free, but it's a reservoir, so there's not a lot of stuff in it.
Right. Well, I mean, if you do you get the your city water profile from whatever your
I do. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately.
That's fine. Yeah. Let's take a look at that. Make sure it's where you want it. You probably already did, and it should be fine.
I don't carry mine in my back pocket either.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I got mine in my head.
Oh well, our water has 160 parts per million of.
Yeah. But I mean, it's sort of that balancing between how much residual body you've got, the minerals, and their impact on the hops. I mean, it can make it seem a little harsh if you don't get it just right. But the other thing is make sure you got real fresh hops. But if you get a new package that's under foil and nitrogen, it should be fine for the bittering.
The TET that I used was super low alpha. It was 2.4. So I doubled up because I usually have about a 5% TET.
Right.
And so I doubled it up on that. So I guess that wasn't really the problem, though. So
I wouldn't think so. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you have any other insight onto the.
Well, just using more hop matter in the beer when it's usually using a 5% alpha hop in. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I've noticed some of those crops come out really super low, and it just varies a lot. But you are putting that twice the amount of plant matter in your beer, and it does have a little, maybe a little green kind of odd hop taste to it. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of with the chalkiness and with that, there was a little kind of greenness to it there of the, maybe a little too much plant material in there. It's just a delicate beer. To start with, so it's a real balancing act to get it just right. Then again, it's a very good beer. I would drink.
Yeah, with all these nits we're picking, I'd be happy to have another one. I mean, it was actually pretty nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than the
we're sorry you didn't send that third bottle.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
No worries.
I mean, that's what you have to remember, right, with a show like this, and just entering your beers in competition anyway. It's finding flaws. It's different if you're sitting at the pub and you're drinking a pint of commercial beer. We're actually trying to find issues with your beer.
There's more to it than just that. I mean, we're appreciating the balance and the ingredients and everything, how it works together. And for this one, I mean, we really glossed over that because he more or less got all that right.
Right. That's
the balance
what I'm saying.
The flavors, aromas were appropriate.
Right. But I think with that you kind of all that kind of gets over. Maybe not with Judging and Joe. Maybe with this specifically this show. I guess all that stuff is that's almost accepted, and then we're trying to find what went wrong. But keep in mind, Jim, you did a lot of stuff right. So nice work.
Well, yeah. I mean, also,
I don't know. Did that make sense? I wasn't trying to say that we're bagging on him, but
yeah,
it's
that
like
made sense.
it's like we have to step back and sometimes go, oh yeah, but I mean it was great, like you said, Lee.
Yeah.
I'd still have another pint.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Well, and I mean when you get into feedback for how to make it better, you're automatically in the realm of talking about the things that went wrong. So.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of triggered that.
As a judge, I agree with what you say, JP, but as a judge too, you want to just be sure to give a complete picture of that beer, and that includes all the warts and the you don't want to be a fault finder and just say, well, this has a tiny little hint of this, and I mean, as long as you're pointing out it has a low amount of this along with all these other good elements. It's got the cracker like flavor and aroma of the malt that's in there. It's not missing. You're giving a full picture of the beer, and a person listening to the show might be able to tell kind of what it tasted like, hopefully, if we're doing our job right.
I guess what I'm saying is, if you have a beer in competition, like I do this sometimes, you kind of get down on yourself if you get kind of a low score or whatever, and you realize, look, you made beer and you put it in a bottle and you gave it to somebody. That's it. We don't want anyone to
get down on themselves. We're not out here to...
Am I projecting onto...
Just a little bit. I mean, all us beer judges are massively insecure. We take it out on all the entrants all the time.
That's true.
Hide behind our sort of wall of ivory tower intellectual knowledge base and palate lore. And
like JP, who is also judged, they send their beers into competitions and sometimes get, maybe... an incorrect picture to their eyes of what their beer was, and they might be a little bitter, and then they're judging somebody else's beer, and I'm just going to knock this one down.
Their Clover Honey Mead was better than mine. 0.0.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any more questions, Jim, for the guys?
No, thanks, guys. I really appreciate the feedback.
Thank you
Do
much.
you have any recommendations for a good shrink? I think we could use one right now.
Yeah.
I actually do, but not right now.
Okay. Get in touch with JP by email later.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
All right.
My email is onecrazyon@aol.com.
All right, guys. You have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for coming
Appreciate
on.
it, bud. Bye. I like Jim. He's been on the show before, I believe, too.
Oh, cool.
Let me hang up on him now. Cool. Well, I wish I could have had that beer, man. I got to be a little bit more clear on my thing. It's probably my fault, Jim, so don't worry about it. Okay, we're going to take a break as soon as I get to my program here. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Gary, and he gave us a Northern German alt beer. And I'm a little more than excited to drink this thing and see how it goes. So hang in there, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew back after this.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
That's it. I've putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small. Single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Dr. Homebrew. We're just sharing urinal stories here during the break. No big deal.
It's fun being famous.
It's fun being famous. Famous
Great
last
stories,
words.
fresh as mints.
Yeah. Good times, man.
Well,
Good
we didn't
times.
get it as much as Will Wheaton did at NHC, but we did get some recognition.
And I like that. I like that my boys are getting out there, man, getting their faces known. And, hey, in 10 years, you could be me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could walk into a bathroom and have to shake some wet-handed beer fan's hand.
Where's my Xanax?
I got you. Don't worry about it.
All right. It's all good. It's all good.
Conference was a lot of fun, though.
Conference is great.
I mean, getting recognized by people I haven't met is kind of odd to me because I'm not used to that. But what the hey? It's fun too. The conference is a lot of fun. It's so much interesting beer.
Speaking of
so much enthusiasm.
Speaking of interesting beer, did you have Annie Johnson's beer? Her funk. Gary, you on the phone with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, man, did you go to NHC this year by any chance?
No, I did not.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I couldn't make it.
So Annie Johnson, who's now working with Pico Brew, she made this beer, and it was called a Funky Chicken, something like that. And it was some base beer of some God knows what. And then she smoked a chicken, like a fryer, and then mashed it up with some other stuff, and then put it in the beer like dry chicken. Or I forget what she did with it.
Well, at least she cooked it first.
Yes, she cooked it, and then she gave it to me, and then I kind of smelled it. I'm like, I kind of wish you hadn't told me what it was, because now I think I smell chicken juice. So the whole rest of the night, I'm thinking that she's poisoned me or that something nasty is going to happen, and it's just this. I don't know. It took me a while to get over just smelling chicken juice in my glass.
That would be a little weird. Did it have a nice foam stand, like a matzah floating in it?
It was weird.
Okay, I missed that.
It was weird.
I missed that beer.
Well, I don't know if you missed it. You didn't have it.
I didn't have it, that's for sure. Yeah. No, I was not Funky Chicken.
I was not lucky enough.
I think I do remember seeing Annie waving a rubber chicken around at some point, though.
That may have been. She may have been celebrating her conquest. Yeah. Anyway, Gary, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, thanks. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Doing great. Just drinking some good homebrew, man. Before we jump into your beer, figuratively, how long have you been homebrewing?
So I've been homebrewing for about 2 years. Started with a couple extract kits like everybody else, and then jumped right into all grain. Was introduced by my brew buddy and friend Rob Johnson about that time, and kind of was his brew assistant for a while. And then finally got confident enough to buy some oil and equipment, and kind of got into it like that.
Nice. I wonder if Rob's going, he said my name! I don't know. That's cool. So have you made this style of beer before, this Northern German Alt?
No. So what I've been doing recently is going through brewing classic styles and brewing some more of the obscure beers that are hard to get fresh here in the States.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the inspiration for brewing this beer. So.
Okay. Just have you had a commercial example? I don't know that there are that many. I mean, there have to be, but
hard to find in this
readily
country,
available.
Yeah. No, I haven't had a commercial style. No.
Well, I mean, in the 2008 guidelines, they list Alaskan Amber Ale. That's probably the one that most people have had as a Northern German alt. But I've had Schwelmer, but it doesn't always travel well. And you can picture what the beer was or would have been, but it's not always what it is when you're drinking it there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Brian, since you have that wonderful insight, why don't you kick us off, man?
Yeah. Okay. So the beer in the aroma has a nice, pleasant, malty and toasty aroma up front. Kind of a low, earthy, spicy hop hiding in the background. Not too intense. No, I mean, it seems very clean. No DMS or diacetyl. I didn't get any obvious esters. There's a little bit of fruitiness from the malt, but it seems like clean fermentation there. Appearance-wise, the rich dark copper color, and it's very clear. It has these nice kind of burnished, orangey, burnt amber highlights in there in the glass, and it had a low, creamy off-white colored head that stuck around for a little while. And flavor-wise,
as he takes a sip,
pleasantly rich malt with a lightly brown toast kind of element to it. The bread crusts and somewhat biscuity. It has this medium dry finish that really works well with the style too. And yeah, clean fermentation. There's only a little bit of esters in there, and seems cleanly lagered. And so yeah, nice malty aftertaste in there, definitely. Only if again, some fruitiness from the malt, and the bitterness is substantial enough to keep the balance with all that's in there. If you didn't have enough of that, it would just be flabby and too sweet,
And that fruitiness is from malt and yeast, or just from the malt?
I'm thinking that it's mostly coming from the malt.
Okay.
It just tastes like a...
Does that alt yeast not kick off any kind of fruity ester?
I mean, it could. I don't know if this was this lagered, or is it was it ale?
So this beer, Jamil calls for, you can either use the alt beer ale yeast, the German ale yeast, or you could use a lager yeast. I used the ale yeast, and so it was kind of weird coming out of the fermenter. It tasted like fusily a little bit, and then it kind of hit a sweet spot after lagering for only like 2 weeks.
So you did like
melanoid.
Low temperature ale ferment with it, or?
Yeah, I think I fermented at like 62 degrees.
Okay, yeah. So it's got some elements of ale and lager to me. I wasn't sure, I'm commenting it's got like kind of a clean lager fermentation profile, but also a little fruitiness in there. So it's like, kind of like the Kolsch and some of those other styles, the alt can have that, a little bit of both worlds in there. And if you have the right ingredients and everything else in there, it really can work nicely. So thanks for sharing the tidbit there. Mouthfeel-wise, medium-bodied, medium high carbonation. I'll probably more like medium. No warmth or anything. It's somewhat creamy and smooth. It wasn't harsh or biting. Just really pleasant on the palate. But yeah, I thought it was a very enjoyable Northern German alt, and again, not a style that I've had too many of either.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're not in the right part of Germany, you're not going to find too many of them. Even like, well, I went to Munich, and I you're not going to find too many Northern German alts down there.
Found a stale one in a bottle.
Yeah.
Because Munich is south, right, guys?
Seems like the ingredients that were used were really authentic, and it's a bit on the dry side in some ways, but it also has there's a little bit of sweetness. You can even bump up the sweetness just a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. It was a very pleasant beer. I gave it a 41. I didn't find anything really wrong with it at all.
That's a good score.
Good balance.
That dryness that you were talking about, the final gravity in the recipe called for 1.014. It got down to 1.011. So
yeah, pretty dry.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a hard thing. It's if you ever make meads, that's one thing that's really hard to control. Like, well, the mead, you can plan a mead recipe. You think, well, it might dry out to 10, but then it goes all the way to 0. Right. And it's like, okay. With the beer, the same thing. You only have the mash temp to control. I mean, honestly, I find, too, that a little bit of sometimes if you want to bump out the sweetness, you could add a couple pounds of extract substituted for the base malt, and I find that Like the extract doesn't ferment down as far. Whenever I make an extract version of a beer, the gravity will be like 3 or 4 points higher than the mashed version. So, I mean, that's a little trick you could use to get a little touch of sweetness. I like to do that with barley wines. Put a little extract in my barley wines, a few pounds or something, just to keep some of that sweetness in there and not have it dry out too much, or certain other beers. But fun little trick you could try. Then you're
that's a good
going
trick,
back to your roots, breaking out the extract and messing around with that stuff.
More stuff.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Get all the things all sticky. Be great.
Yeah. It's a living or not. It's a hobby.
There you go.
Right.
All right, Lee.
I agree with most of what Brian said. I mean, he had a nice sort of grainy, toasty, cherry-ish kind of malt profile to it. Pretty low hop aroma. Beautiful looking beer. I mean, very pretty, clear, almost brilliant. Nice sort of red-brown color. Had a nice foam on it. Persisted fairly well, too. At least in my original glass back home. This one, well, it's a little taster glass. They're not always the kindest to the foam stand.
That's true.
Toasty bread crust kind of malt flavor. Some cherry probably from that. Medium-low sweetness. Balanced the bittering fairly well, I think. A little bit of an herbal hop character in it. Fairly clean ferment. Dries out definitely towards the finish. I wasn't 100% always a fan of that kind of cherryish flavor in there. Sometimes it came across as a nice cherry. Sometimes it came across a little artificial to me.
Like cherry cola?
Kind of, yeah. Or Skittles-ish. I was kind of curious about what kind of malt you put in there, actually.
Do you want me to tell you?
Sure, why not?
So 9.8 pounds of Pilsner malt, a pound of Munich malt, 9 liter, 0.25 of Carafa Special 2, and 0.25 of Cara Munich, and then I think just 3 ounces of pale chocolate. I don't know if that's in there for color or maybe just a little bit of taste, but that's what the recipe called for.
Well, it would probably do both.
And 2 liters of soda.
Right.
Pale chocolate.
What kind of Munich malt?
I did the 9 Lovabond Munich malt.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's the lower Lovabond real Munich malt, not the American one.
Yeah, I think it's like at our homebrew store, you can get 1, 2, or 3. I think it was 2.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I would say I would kind of avoid the higher Lovabond one for one of these beers, at least at that level. It might make it a little too dark and intense. The use of the Cara Munich is interesting. I wouldn't have considered that necessarily. The thing about this beer to me, that I liked it. I gave it a 38. Almost as good as Brian's. The reason I didn't score a little higher was, to me, as initially at least, I actually disagreed with Brian. I thought it was a little bit too sweet for the amount of bittering that's in there.
Okay.
I think this beer should actually be a little bit more bitter. It's sort of a classic characteristic of all beers, and not as much as maybe the Dusseldorf, but for me this is coming across as sweeter and maltier. But really, the more I get down to it, I don't think it's so much that it's sweeter or richer in the sense of residual sugars. It's just that this cherry flavor is kind of prominent, and the fruitiness is bringing along an impression of sweetness to me. And I think that is a little bit over the top. It comes across to me as more cherry, fruity, sweet, a little more in the balance than it does as toasty, bready, malty. And I would personally like to throttle that back. Now, we're talking vis-a-vis our last conversation about, dinging things and getting into the details of what didn't work. Yeah. It's a really nice beer. We both scored it well. It's a nice dry finish. It's a really pretty well-balanced beer. I like it. If I was going to make it something more to my taste, though, I'd try to throttle back that fruitiness a bit. And if I was going to do that, probably the first thing I'd hit is that Cara Munich, because that might be making some of that.
There wasn't too much of it in there, right? It was just like a quarter pound or something.
Yeah, it was just a quarter pound.
Yeah. What about the hop? Where were you at with the hop? Sorry.
That's okay. Just 0.6 ounces of Magnum. That's 60 minutes, and that was it.
How many IBUs did that come out to?
I think the recipe was like 21.
Oh, really? Wow. I would have thought it'd be a lot more than that.
0.6?
No, I mean 0.6. A Magnum strong, but 0.6 ain't much.
Yeah.
I can see that coming out to 21. I would think the recipe should be shooting higher than that. But
it is. I'm sorry. It's 32.
Okay. Yeah, that's about what I was. That's right about mid-range for the style.
Yeah.
Yeah. 32.
But you got to watch out if the hops have sat around for a while, or if they're older, if they're not. Yeah. They, sometimes the alpha is just slightly off, and you're just like, I'll just weigh it out to 0.6. The the balance sometimes can be a very delicate thing. You do want to adjust those hops for the alpha acid if you're not, what you get from the store is, percent lower.
Yeah. Did you adjust, Gary, for the alpha acid that you got in the package versus what was said in the book?
Yeah, there's a calculator online I punched in, and I think it was like maybe when I bought it, it was maybe in the 11s. And instead of putting 0.6, I put maybe like 0.8 or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's good. You're doing everything right there. So, I thought the hop was fine. It might be like slightly on the lower side for bitterness for the style, and it is pretty sweet with all the malts that are in there. But
can you get that stuff with like bag versus no bag, like pellet hops? Putting the hops in a bag versus not. Like, I don't really use a bag.
Yeah, your usage
for low amounts like that.
The hop utilization is going to go down if you're using a bag, and if you're whatever your procedure is.
It's all clustered in one space as opposed to just freely boiling through the whole kettle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can do it. It's the sort of thing where over time you may learn that your beers are a little less bitter than you think they should be. And Brian's topping me up again. Thank you, Brian. So maybe you up at 5 or 10% or something. I don't know. It's something you have to figure out for your own system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, the character of the bittering was nice. It was clean. It was very pleasant bittering. I like that. I just thought there could have been, especially since it was so clean, that it could have used a touch more of it. It would have really made it into a serious contender of an alt beer. Because that's kind of one of their hallmarks, is to have that sort of fairly prominent, clean, but not over-the-top bittering.
I think it is a nice contender, though, because it has... So, like, we're talking about it as the sweetness is not the finish. Like, the finish is always dry, but it has all these different malts in it that give it the impression of sweetness, and that plays nicely with the hop that is there, and that's part of the overall balance of this beer and why it works. And I think you did really well with that.
Thanks. I kind of agree with maybe wanting a little bit more hop bitterness in there. I haven't had this beer for about a month, and I kept a bottle in my teaser just to kind of taste along with you guys. And I feel like maybe the bitterness dropped off just a little bit.
Yeah,
since the last time I had it.
If the beer's older, try making a Dusseldorf alt sometime. That would be a fun one for you too. If you like that edge of the balance, it might play more nicely for you. Do one of those.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
But nicely brewed. Good job with all your equipment and stuff there. What kind of setup do you have?
Well, we've got we can do 5. I can do outside on the propane, do 10 gallons, and if it's here in Florida, it gets 95 degrees, so I'll move it inside and do it on the stovetop and do a 5 gallon if the weather's not conducive to outside.
Yeah,
so like 2 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's like summer brewing out here, man, and the East Bay area. It does get nice and toasty.
You got to get yourself a vest and fill all the pockets full of freezer bags and stuff,
right.
To stay outside and brew your beer.
Yeah, I shut down in the summer. I can't do it. Just temperature, and I just...
So that means you're going to start brewing in the winter?
Sure.
Okay.
I shut down in the winter. It's too cold.
Don't you just push a button on your Pico Brew and just...
I was going to say, JP has a Pico Brew, doesn't he?
Pico Brew now. Yeah, man. Well, it's mainly fermentation. So the issue that I'm running into is now that I have a 10-gallon temperature-controlled conical, but I can't use that with a Pico Brew. So I'm like fermenting in my closet, which has been staying relatively nicely. But now that we've hit this heat spell, I'm like, well, I mean, I could brew Saisons, but I don't really like Saisons. So I'm kind of like, so I have to like clean out a beer fridge of all my commercial beer and then, hook that up. So I've just been real lazy.
Never mind. So, this is a nice beer. I like
it. Cool. Well, appreciate you guys critiquing it and giving me that feedback. So you think maybe upping the bitterness maybe to taste and then kind of dial back on that cherry flavor. You think I should try to shoot for maybe bringing the Munich down a little bit?
The Munich or the Cara Munich, bring that down a bit. That would definitely accomplish that. I mean, it depends which of us you think you want to believe more. I think Brian will tell you to leave it where it is, and I tell you to dial up the bitter a bit.
I think it's not that 9L Munich that's hurting it at all. It's just the cherry like is definitely there that Lee's talking about. And if you drop the Cara Munich from a quarter pound to like 0.2 pound, just that little of an adjustment might bring it right into balance. If you bump the hop up by just another 0.1 ounce from what you had, it might just be perfectly balanced and happy, and it'll still be right in for style. But if you go too crazy with it, like, oh, swinging this way and that, it's going to go to hell. It's at a good place now.
It'll end up in a bucket with a bunch of other beer.
Yeah.
All right, Gary. If that's it, we'll let you slide out of here.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on the show, guys, and hopefully talk to you guys soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
stay
Cheers.
cool down
Got it,
there.
man. Thanks.
All right, bye.
All right. Bye. Cool. Awesome, man. Yeah, good beer. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take our final break of the show, and then we'll come back and we'll distribute all the prizes and all the kind of stuff, and then we'll
Go home.
go and get a beer.
Or something.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, it's Dr. Homebrew. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today. High Gravity Homebrewing Supplies wants you to keep it simple. Brewing should be fun. And with High Gravity's amazing electric brewing systems, it is. High Gravity keeps their brewing systems simple on purpose. More efficient than gas, customizable, and with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 vessels, High Gravity's electric brewing systems will completely change the way you brew beer, formulate recipes, and improve your beer's consistency. Dave at High Gravity can customize your system to fit your needs. High Gravity invites you to visit their Build Your Own Brewery page and see how easy it can be to brew electric. And High Gravity offers $7.99 flat rate shipping on most of their products. www.highdgravitybrew.com. High Gravity. Keep it electric. Keep it simple. Visit highdgravitybrew.com. Admit it. Homebrewing is not always free of frustrations. Years ago, brothers Bill and Jim Mitchell decided to minimize those frustrations and create an entirely new brewing process and a brand new kitchen appliance, the Pico Brew Zymatic. The Zymatic sits on your kitchen counter and connects to the internet via Wi-Fi. It comes with access to a huge recipe library full of award-winning beers and can brew your next batch at the push of a button. Improve repeatability and refine your recipes with the Pico Brew Zymatic. With minimal cleaning and hassle, the Zymatic enables anyone to brew craft beer in the comfort of their own kitchen. Just add your ingredients and the process of homebrewing becomes simplified and automatic, allowing you to focus on what really matters while you brew. At Pico Brew, they believe everyone should be able to enjoy the art of homebrewing and make their own damn good craft beer. See the Zymatic in action today at picobrew.com.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
Brian is serenading us during the break. Or you were screaming. I couldn't tell.
I said, we're going to have to pour you out, and then I said, into my bucket.
You should just carry that thing around with you at all times. Are you going to drink that? Go around the bar.
Just bring a flask with you here next time. Yeah. Are you going to finish
I
that?
always have a bucket with
We often have some leftover bottle stuff here.
I'm never going to hear an end to this now.
Oh, no.
You guys.
Well, do you think you should? I mean, do you think that's a
When you
reasonable
taste the
thing
beer,
to do?
You be the judge, okay?
I will be the judge. The roles will be reversed. Well, for me, not for
Ryan
Lee.
just let his Franken baby into public, and we're not going to let him live it down.
In like 40 years, he's going to be, hey, you gonna finish that? Oh, no, I eat all my food. No, your beer. I'm making whatever.
It's a 40-year-old plastic Solera dump bucket sour.
Is that why you want to be a volunteer at Winter Brews Fest all the time? So you can go through the dump buckets and...
No, I've never volunteered.
He's never volunteered.
I've never been.
Oh. What?
I've never been.
The hell's wrong with you? I could have sworn I've seen you.
It always falls on the same day as this party I go to every year.
Oh, that's right. You have more important things to do than get into a beer fest for free. Yeah. That sucks for you.
I will try to make it one of these times.
Hey, don't do it on my account. I'll just take pictures of you.
Drunk.
I don't like too many spiced beers, though. It's like sometimes... Well, winter beers.
It's not like you actually see a lot of spiced beers.
It's a beer fest in winter. The name is misleading. Yes.
Well, then I'll definitely be there next year. There was no party.
Yeah, and this is wintered in Concord, California. I think it was like 75 degrees.
Sure.
This past year.
There may have been a wind chill. I don't know.
There was one cloud we spotted on the horizon.
Everyone
it ran away quickly. Yeah.
Right.
Winter. Yeah, let's build the snowman building contest at this competition. It's great.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you want that, go up to the Alaska Beer and Barley Wine Festival. You'll find that there.
No, thank you. Okay, we have some prizes to give away. We have 2 prizes, one from GrogTag. Go to grogtag.com. They just released a new label today, as a matter of fact, the Drunken Mermaid. It's actually really cute. So you can go there, and they give you all sorts of templates, so you can design your own reusable labels, which is amazing. And then the other prize we give is from High Gravity Homebrew. You can go to highgravityhomebrew.com for all your homebrew shop needs to get your equipment, your ingredients, your advice, all that kind of stuff. Go to Desiree over there at High Gravity Homebrew.
Better advice than we can give.
Probably, yeah. I think she's been doing it for a long time, man. She's a staunch supporter of not only Dr. Homebrew, but of NHC and AHA and all this kind of stuff. So we like the things they're doing over there at High Gravity. So the GrogTag gift certificate, it's a $40 gift certificate, goes to the person with the lowest score, as we all know, because the GrogTag tagline is, at least your beer will look good.
We refer to it as the person who wins from behind.
Ah, right? Person who wins from behind.
The person with the most attractive behind.
Yes.
That would be different, but yes. Wins from, not wins for.
Oh, okay. Well, that is very different.
And we only get these guys on Skype, so.
I have a picture. It's fine. I recommend full-length body shots and side views. I'm like a casting director. It's amazing. So the GrogTag $40 gift certificate goes to Jim. Hey, with his pills, his German pills. So that means, Gary, you are the proud winner of the High Gravity Homebrew. I believe it's a gift certificate as well for a bunch of stuff. So,
well, and doesn't everybody get a little stuff from 5 Star?
That's correct. The folks over at 5 Star want. I don't know why they're having an East Coast accent. They're from Colorado.
Yeah.
Which is very weird.
You're just winging it, aren't you?
Well, I was going off of Brian, and I think Brian, anyway. Yes, everyone who appeared on the show tonight will get parting gifts from 5 Star Chemicals.
I don't know what my accent was. I said something like 5 Star.
5 Star.
And
I assumed it was like some sort of Jersey Brooklyn hybrid thing.
No, it was a Kung Fu accent.
Oh. Well, they're not from Kung Fu either.
Incompatible.
I got my 5 Star. I would throw at you.
No more beer for Brian.
Sorry.
I think.
We have achieved other planetness.
Otherworldliness.
Yes.
I believe that's it. Where's my sheet? I'm supposed to promote other supposed to promote other Bean shows. If you guys like weird content like this, then you're going to love our other shows that we have, like The Session, Sour Hour, Brew Strong. What's the other one? Brewing with Style with our very own Jamil and Jean Plissé.
Lunch Meat, is that even still on?
That's not on anymore. No,
okay.
It's not on anymore.
The world is safer.
I ran into John Plissé at NHC. I don't know if you guys saw his booth there, but he has a new endeavor called Brew Cribs. You go to brewcribs.com. It's kind of like this whole home brewing community online where you can upload your stuff, and it's a kind of a merging of commercial and homebrew, and it's really very cool.
Get your brew crib.
Get your brew crib on, man. Yeah, it's I like it. So go support our buddy Johnny and check that stuff out, and then listen to a show, and then go back and listen to the other Jamil shows, and you can have a wonderful time.
Quick shout out to our friends who have been on the show. won a gold medal at NHC.
That's right.
William Steinley and his brewing partners Dylan Vaughn and Craig Vilhauer. These guys entered under the Brewing Network name and won with a phenomenal Russian Imperial Stout that we actually got to taste on the show.
That's
They
right.
came in and visited us a couple times here, and we were really pulling for those guys, so they did a great job.
They helped
Just a little shout out
us
there.
win Club of the Year.
But yeah, when I ran into him in the Tiki Hut there at NHC, and he's like, "Yep, our beer won. You tasted it. Good times."
All right, everyone. Dr. Homebrew, take it easy. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.